Hello guys, I wanted to check in with you before I do another workout video, and I am shaking up my protein now because as I stated before, I like to take a protein shake before I begin my workout. I usually take in about 20 grams of protein before my workout and another 20 grams of protein after my workout. And I prefer it in a shake. But anyway, before I eat or drink or even work out, the first thing I have to do is check my blood sugar to make sure that it's in a normal range. So for those who don't know, I am a type 1 diabetic. I was diagnosed with diabetes a little over 8 years ago. I was 36 years old at the time and had decided to make an appointment with my doctor to check on some symptoms that I was having at the time, which was blurred vision. I also had dry mouth, and I was urinating a lot. So I really didn't understand at the time that I actually needed to see a doctor for those symptoms because due to me having dry mouth, of course, that forced me to drink water, lots of it. And then with me drinking lots of water, it had me urinating, going back and forth to the bathroom. So at the time, I didn't feel like, okay, this is enough for me to be concerned about or to go and make a doctor's appointment until the next day. I was traveling, I was in school at the time, Georgia Perimeter College in Newton County. And I noticed that I could not read the signs on the interstate and my vision was like blurred. So wasn't alarmed. You know, it was a cold day, so I figured, okay, maybe my eyes are a little dry and I need some drops. And so went on to the campus, got to my class, sat down, and at the time I sat on the front row and I looked into my professor's face and I could not see certain parts of his face. So my vision became worse. And that's when I knew that, okay, I need to make an appointment to see my doctor. So I did that. And long story short, went to the doctor, they checked my urine. And after waiting until the test was complete, he came out and he told me, Mrs. Atwater, you have the urine of a diabetic. And I thought I was being punked. I actually thought he was gonna come out the way he was looking at me. I thought he was gonna come out the lab and tell me that I was pregnant again. But no, that's not what he said. But anyway, so they went to check my blood sugar. And at the time it was like 394, 397, very high. And I was so surprised. I couldn't even process it. And, you know, like I said, pretty much healthy. I was active, during that time, was not teaching or training on a professional level, but on a personal level, I've always been active, always went to the gym, always was conscious of what I put in my mouth. And so I just knew something was not right. Well, a couple of weeks later, saw an endocrinologist who is a specialist, a doctor who specializes in diabetes. And she confirmed that, yes, I definitely had diabetes. And so at that moment, I was feeling, you know what? The cool chick that I always thought I was, she's not gonna be cool anymore. Because I always thought diabetes was for old people. And, people who ate a lot of sugar, drank a lot of Kool-Aid. That's what I was told growing up. It's the old person disease. So I was like, okay, the cool, active girl that I always knew, she was gone. And I went into a depression and started to feel sorry for myself. And so I started off with metformin, which is a medication commonly used to treat diabetes. And I was on those pills for a minute, probably about a year before they started not working. And by the way, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And I will go into the differences between type 1 and type 2 at a later time because I don't want to hold you long. But so I found out after about a year or so of taking the medicine and, you know, changing medications and going through that process that I did not have type 2. And one sign that I was showing that my endocrinologist has decided to do additional testing was I was losing a lot of weight. And at the time when I was diagnosed initially, I became certified in teaching Zumba and also the training. And so we always thought that the weight loss was basically caused from the increase of activity. With me teaching at the time, I was teaching maybe 4 to 6 classes a week in addition to just my normal workout. So when my doctor said, no, you lost like over 10 pounds in less than 30 days, we need to do additional testing. The testing confirmed that I had type 1 diabetes and not type 2 diabetes. And what did that mean for me was that I had to come off medicine and I had to take in insulin through a needle. And as I said before, I'm gonna show you the difference or tell you the difference between type 1 and type 2. And I'll even show you the syringes that I used to have to use before later converting over to the insulin pump, which I currently wear every day, all day. And so I wanna open up with you guys and share the process of what I have to go through being a type 1 diabetic, and not just a type 1 diabetic, but an active woman, young woman with type 1 diabetes who also wears an insulin pump. So I didn't want to hold you long, but I wanted to just share a little bit about myself as far as being a diabetic, and also begin showing the process that I have to take, because not all diabetics are the same across the board, whether they're type 1 or type 2. So I wanted just to open up my life and share my walk as a diabetic. And of course, my goal is always to encourage and inspire someone. So I said earlier that I always felt I was like a cool chick, you know, active, full of life, full of energy. And I thought being diagnosed with diabetes was almost like a death sentence, like that girl was no longer going to exist. And although there are gonna be many other videos in the future that I will use to share my life and the whole process and my feelings towards being a young woman with type 1 diabetes who also wears an insulin pump. Because by the way, that was one of the hardest decisions that I had to make in regards to managing my illness. But anyway, what I have learned is that I'm still that cool chick, and that I'm still full of energy, full of life, and that chick is still here, and that I may have diabetes, but diabetes. Okay, so this is my meter. So this is the first thing that I do before I eat, drink, or even work out. I have to make sure that I check my blood sugar to make sure that it's in a normal range. And if it's not, it needs to be corrected. Okay, so this is my meter. Have to begin with an alcohol wipe to make sure that the area is clean. So this right here is what I use to prick my finger, which, by the way, although this is like going on my 9th year actually of having diabetes, it still doesn't get easier. Okay, and these are my test strips. So I begin taking an alcohol wipe. Can you see it? Can you get closer? Here's my alcohol wipe and all my fingers. You know, a lot of diabetics have their favorite fingers that they like to prick, but pretty much all of them I use. So I'm just gonna use my fingertip here on my pointer finger. I have to make sure it dries. And then these are called my test strips. This is the actual meter. You can see that, okay? I insert my test strip inside of the meter, and it actually guides me on what to do. Okay, so it's telling me now, let me bring it over a little bit. It's telling me to apply blood, okay? So, my pointer finger. That prick, like I said, never gets easier. There's the blood. They like you to take off the first. You know, just to make sure there's no sugar on the top layer of your skin because it can affect the results. So, it is. All right. So on here, you have an option to kind of mark. Whoa, do you see that? That's saying my blood sugar is 304. Very, very, very high. My doctor don't want me to have a blood sugar higher than like the 120 range to start, like between 100, 120, she likes. So she wouldn't like that. So that's saying that my blood sugar is 304 and is not in a normal range, which means that I need a correction, which means a correction means I would need basically more insulin. Okay, so I would need insulin to cover my shake that I was talking about earlier, and I would need additional insulin to cover the correction that's needed to help bring this number down to a normal range. Don't be alarmed. It's something as diabetics we do see, but it's nothing that can't be corrected. Okay, so after that, to do my correction, as I said earlier, I wear an insulin pump. Can you see this pump? There you go. So what happens is the blood sugar, the number of your blood sugar actually is synced. The meter, I should say, is synced to my insulin pump, okay? So the 304 blood sugar reading, it shows up on my insulin pump, and my insulin pump, it's like a little computer. It actually guides you on what you need to do next. So it asks for you to confirm the blood sugar to make sure it is correct. So when I confirm it, it asks me to do a bolus, okay? And the bolus is basically the correction that I was saying. So basically I'm getting extra insulin to help bring that 304 number way down, in addition to my meal, my shake that I'm gonna take. So it automatically calculates how much insulin that I need to cover the correction as well as to cover the carbs that are in my shake. So my shake, I probably need to put in about 40 carbs for my shake, because it all depends on if I use 1 scoop or 2 scoops. So I added in my 40 carbs for my shake. And then I let my insulin pump know that I'm ready to receive my insulin. Okay? And so it's letting me know that it's going to deliver the bolus, which that's the insulin with the correction and also the insulin amount to cover my protein shake. Okay, which is about 4.7 units of insulin that I'm going to receive right now. The insulin pump is attached to my body. At the time, it's attached to my behind, okay? It has to be attached to a fatty area on your body. And I don't really have a whole lot of fat, so for the most part, I attach my insulin pump to either my behind area or my lower abdomen area. Okay, so I'm getting my insulins. Don't be alarmed. I'm managing it. It's not where I would like to have started, but like I said, I have those days. Okay, so I'm receiving my insulin. And after it's complete, I'm going to go ahead and get started on my next workout video. And that's it for today. So just stay tuned. I'm going to do more videos in the future to just share with you the process and go over, you know, just the details of my life with having diabetes and how I manage it. So it's a lot to it, but it has become a routine of mine. So it's not as complicated, but it is a lot that you have to manage and deal with. It's like you have to be your own personal doctor on a day-to-day until you see your specialist. So just wanted to share that part with you. Okay, I hope you enjoy the next workout video. And as I like to say, I'll talk to you soon.